Yo, it's your boy Jerry the Great. You are tuned into a brand new episode of the Hope This Helps podcast. Hey, listen, I want to shout out everybody who tuned in last week, who tuned in, checked us out, left your comments, left your feedback. Listen, we are back with a brand new one, an all new one. And this week I am joined by one of my good friends. She played basketball in UNF. She has a great service business where she offers resume reviews. She does your resumes. She is the go-to for me whenever I'm looking at jobs, talking about jobs. I just, want to get my resume review. Y'all please join me in welcoming to the Hope This Helps podcast. Ari, how you doing today?
Doing well. I'm blessed. I woke up this morning feeling good.
Hey, there you go. As long as you wake up, you're on the right side of things. That's how I look at it.
Right.
That's how I look at it. So I kind of briefly gave your resume. I said, you played basketball and UNF, but you were a student athlete. You ain't just go there to play basketball. You were a student athlete. You got your master's from FSU. I was gonna let you give all your cookies and your jewels. So who is Ari for everybody who's tuning in and checking you out?
Yeah, so my name is Ari. Full name is Ariana Emmanuel Wright. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. And like Jerry said, I played at University of North Florida, where I got my bachelor's degree in psychology. Then I went to Florida State University, where I got my master's degree, educational specialist degree, and recently got my NCC, which is my National Certified Counselor credential.
Dope. So was that your track the whole time? You knew that you wanted to do psychology and then go into education and no. No,
that is not what I intended originally. Because as an athlete, all around me was sports. Being on the court, everybody that I seen in a professional role was related to athletics. So originally, I wanted to be an athletic trainer. I actually applied to the athletic training program at UNF. That was my first official interview, and it did not go well. So I didn't get accepted. I think the interview, I think I bombed it, honestly.
Oh man.
I felt awkward. I did not prepare at all. So I didn't get into it. And the coach was like, well, hey, you got to pick a backup major or you won't be eligible. So I just picked psychology because I was like, hey, this is going to be the easiest. And I ended up really loving it. My first course was abnormal psychology, and I saw a Black woman being represented in a professor type role. Mm-hmm. So I think that was really good as well, to see that representation and to have a great teacher.
Right.
From there, I applied to counseling and psychology based graduate programs. And I found the career counseling program at FSU, had no idea what it was. I just applied, got in, and just went with it. Ended up loving it, seeing how important education was, making sure students were prepared to be professional, especially in terms of student athletes. I ended up teaching a career development course in my grad program as well. And a majority of those students were student athletes as well. And I made it an emphasis to them hey, it's always good to have a what if, say you don't make it professionally, you want to be prepared to know how to speak to people, to know what your path can potentially be, and, stay with your education, because
for sure.
Nobody can take that away.
Absolutely. They cannot take that piece of paper away from you. Shout out to Miss Beverly, who taught me that a long time ago. But it's funny that you said you kind of fell into this as hey, I'm just going to apply for this and we're going to see what happened, because the exact same thing happened to me. I was a psychology major though. And, because I didn't know, it sounded fun. I was like, psychology, that sounds like something I want to do. I want to, know about the people, talk to people. I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. But I kind of stumbled into communication. So that's interesting that we had that same opposite path, but same path. And then abnormal psychology was one of my first classes. And I was like, this is dope.
Right.
My favorite class was developmental psychology, because it gave me, I'm not sure how they did it at UNF, but for us, they gave us we started at conception and went all the way to death. And yep. Okay, so I was like, man, this class just taught me everything more than just what I was expecting. It gave me life. So that's interesting. So let's go all the way back, right? What was your first job?
First job. My first official job was a server at a place called Crispers. I don't know if it still exists in Jacksonville.
I know Crispers though. I know Crispers.
It's similar. Yeah, it's similar to a Panera. So that was my first official job. Did not work there that long. I probably stayed there for probably 2 months.
That's pretty long as a server, though. In the world of a server, that's a long time. 2 months is almost 2 years in server land.
Yeah, and it's funny because that job I ended up getting fired from. That was my first job. It did not keep it that long because I got fired.
Now, can I ask you, what did you get fired for doing?
Okay, so I started in November of my senior year. November of that year before you graduate, right? And I ended up working, and then it was Christmas break. So my supervisor, horrible supervisor, by the way, he was like, "Hey, you got a break. Come back after Christmas break." So I'm like, "Cool, all right. Job is good. I'm getting good tips. I'm happy." I'm like, "All right, I'm about to go home, open these presents, stuff like that." And then, January comes, it's over. And so I'm like, "Oh, let me give my job a call. Let me see when I got to come back at Christmas." Right. So I call him up. I'm like, "Hey, when do I have to come back?" And then he pauses and he's like, "You don't work here no more."
Oh, man.
So I'm sitting there like, "What?"
Since when?
Like, "Yeah, you don't work here no more." And so I was like, "Oh, okay, thank you." Hung up.
Oh, you didn't even press it. You was like, "Okay, well, I guess I ain't working no more."
I guess I ain't working there. I'm confused. He never gave me a date, but I was like, well, maybe it's my fault. I talked to my mom about it. She was like, "You got to communicate. But at the end of the day, it teaches you a lesson." I'm just like, oh, man. And it was good, too. It was like
good money
to have, but hey, it's life.
Yeah, that happens. I said last show, like I had about 16 jobs before I went off and got a professional one. And of them 16, I've probably been fired about 16 times. So my first job was actually at Winn-Dixie. And I think I was either like 14 or 15. I was young when I worked at Winn-Dixie, and they ain't trust me with the money, and I understand. So I was a bagger, and I had to go out there and get the carts, and I can only work like 2 days a week. So I do like a Saturday, Sunday every week. Now the money wasn't as good probably as Christmas was, because back then minimum wage was like $7. Which today feel like a quarter. Like that's right, all. I'm gonna tell my kids, I used to work for a quarter. My first job, I used to earn a quarter. You better take that $15 an hour and be happy. But one of the things I realized, because I left Winn-Dixie, I went to McDonald's, went to the car wash, left the car. Like I bounced around so many jobs. But one of the things I realized young is that whenever I see like young people working, it's inspiring, because I love to see them wanting their own and going to get their own money. But one of the things I realized being on the other side of it was like, dog, I started working at 14, and I'm going to be working for the rest of my life, basically. Like I'm going to do more working than I'm going to do leisure. So I guess it's important to kind of, not necessarily in high school, find that vocation, but once you get to the other side of it, like in college and you're post college, to find that vocation. So what is something that you tell people? Because you said your first interview that you had when you was at UNF, you kind of bluffed that one, you blunted that one. What do you think went wrong in that?
Wasn't prepared.
Okay.
I think that is one of the things that I should have really thought about. But I think I was a little surprised that there was an actual interview to get into a major. I'm like, I didn't conceptualize that. That's not something I didn't talk about, with my coaches or my academic advisor. So when they email me that, I'm like, hey, like, it's too late. I just got to go and see what I could do. But preparation definitely had to have that better, and confidence. I wasn't confident in my answer. I felt uncomfortable. And I think the environment was weird to me, because it was in the person's office space. Okay. The door was closed, and we're close, but it's just like, I've never done this before. Yeah. I feel as though if it was a more open area, if the person was more relaxed, he didn't smile, it was just weird. He
wasn't picking up on the energy you was throwing out, because
I'm all about energy.
Right.
If I see this person in front of me and they're just sitting there staring at me, it feels like an interrogation.
Right.
I'm not going to feel comfortable. I'm not going to feel confident. But what I've learned, you can't let your confidence decrease based on someone else.
For sure.
You always have to be on the up. You have to show and sell yourself, because essentially, in an interview, you are selling yourself. You're showing them, hey, why do I qualify? This is why you need to hire me.
For sure. I had a realization not too long ago. And I told my wife this. I was like, you realize an interview ain't nothing but an improv class. Like an interview ain't nothing but improv on the spot, because you go into it oftentimes not knowing what they're gonna ask you to do, and that's what improv do. They're gonna put you in situations, say, okay, act like you're a cat. You gotta act like you're a cat. So in the interview, you don't know what questions they're gonna ask you. So I know that you're the expert. I'm gonna tell you what I do. And then you tell us if this makes sense or if this is wrong or not. So I had a psychology teacher tell me when that was my major. He said to always try to interview first or interview last, because people remember the first thing that they saw and the last thing that they saw. So that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Even myself, as I navigated my own job search process after graduating with my master's degree, because they send you like a proposed list of like times, dates, and so I always try to pick that first slot or that last one. So that's a really good tip that she gave you. Personally, I chose the first slot, the first one to go on one of the jobs that I got offered for.
For sure. Now that first slot made me nervous though, and the reason why, it's like, this they first interview, they might not be, they ain't really in it, they trying to figure out the questions. That last one. And this is just me being a little cocky. That last one, I'm like, I don't care who you saw before me. Mm-hmm. And they don't even matter no more. Like, Tom was great, but that guy Jerry, when he came in here and he blew the roof off this room, because I look at interviews like a performance. Like, it's, I'm finna come in here. I got 15 minutes. Here we go. Here go my best 15-minute set. Here we go, and action. So that's how I kind of look at it. And then one of the things I realized early on too, my brother-in-law had to teach me this. And you know how you see some people in life, and you look at them sometimes, and this was younger me, and you like, man, I probably can't learn nothing from you. Like, you ain't gonna be able to teach me nothing. Completely wrong. So Hibbett Sports. Hibbett Sports is a sports store, similar to like a Foot Locker, I guess, for people who don't know what Hibbett Sports is. It's like a small Foot Locker that sells shoes, clothes, athletic wear, street wear. Depending upon what one you go to, you can even get some weed. But
I'm not supposed to.
But I wanted a job at Hibbett Sports so bad. Like I was going up there. I was in that lady's face. That I was told, you want to be present, be in their face. But I'm going in there dressed like I work there. So I'm going in. I got basketball shorts on. I got a athletic t-shirt, tennis shoes. Like I'm looking like an athlete. Like, yeah, I put an application in 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month now. A whole year ago. And she was like, yeah, we're gonna try. But I came home one day from Hibbett Sports. My brother's dog, he was like, what's wrong with you, dog? I said, dog, I want this job at Hibbett Sports, but they just not rocking with me. He said, well, look at how you dressed. I said, well, what's up? I'm dressed like I can fit in there. He was like, no, dress for the job you want. He's like, you always got to dress for the job you want. He's like, so you need to go get a suit, go get a tie, and then go back up there. Now, I did it. I got the job at Hibbett Sports after I did that, but no, don't clap, because the pay wasn't good.
Take it back.
Yeah, take that back. So how important is that for in interviews? Do you tell people, the dress is important? Like, what do you say to that?
Very important. Again, great advice. One thing to keep in mind, and I know you're kind of hitting at this, at the work culture. So you're thinking like, hey, I'm working in a sports store. So of course I would try to wear something sporty so I can, you're pretty much advertising to the customers that are coming in. Mm-hmm. But for that first interview, like that, or that whole interview process, you're going to overdress. Even if you feel as though, even if they're coming in, they got t-shirts on or whatever, you still are showing them your best version of yourself. Right. Of course, after you get that job offer and they're like, hey, we're pretty relaxed. We do jeans on Friday. We wear shorts every day. That's fine. You can color your hair blue, whatever you want to do. But in that interview, you still want to, like you said, wear your best, I guess your Sunday's best, show your personality, but still, overdress.
For sure.
Wear to show yourself like, hey, I want this job now,
And when you say Sunday's best, you don't mean like Easter Sunday, because that's a whole nother.
No, not Easter Sunday.
Because you got two outfits on Easter. God. That's a whole nother. You got your.
You know what I thought about? I thought about them socks that, as a kid, little black girls, we had to wear little socks with those little shoes.
With the black socks, black shoes, white socks with the little ruffles on them.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Don't you show up to no job interview wearing them socks and the dress.
Don't pull up wearing that.
So, I appreciate you I appreciate you coming on here with me, because I know a couple of people who went to you for resumes, for resume reviews, resume help, and I think that's a skill. I will be honest and say, for me, resume is good. Cover letter lacks for me, because I don't be knowing what the hell to put in a cover letter. Sometimes in a cover letter, I'm trying to be too personable. Like, my name Jerry. I got a dog. I done been through a lot, but I'm here. The Lord got me.
You brought me through everything.
So what should people put? I guess this gonna be a compound question. What should people put on their resume, and then should your cover letter highlight your skills, or should it be more personable? Like what's that give and take?
Yeah. So with the resume, to answer that question, you want to brag on yourself as much as possible. So in your education section, put your GPA, put any honor societies that you have, and
they're gonna want to see a 1.5 on there, because.
Sorry, let me take that back. If it's a 3.0 or higher, if not, leave it off. But yeah, anything related to you and how it relates to the job, you want to tailor that resume to the position that you're applying for. What I say is the most important. I would say it's like the bread and butter of the resume is your work experience. Your experience is overall. So employment history, volunteer work, research experience, shadowing. If you shadowed a nurse practitioner for a couple months, anything that you were actually, even if you didn't get paid for it, but you're working, like you're learning skills, that's something that you could put in your job description. So you really want to show them like, hey, like you said, you have these skill sets. Like, what do you bring, and how do we know that this can translate to this position? So you never want to hold back, because I see that a lot. They give me their draft and it's a little bit empty, right? Mm-hmm. And then I start asking questions like, hey, did you do this? Like, I have a whole list of questions, and all this stuff comes out, and I'm like, wow, like you had all this stuff. Like, right. It's just interesting to me. It's exciting for me. I know I'm like nerdy when it comes to that type of thing, but to just put that all on paper, because you never want to, hold back.
For sure.
Because they're going to be judging you off this one piece of paper. And they can throw it out easily. Right. So make sure you put everything on there. If I look at it and I'm like, there's some things that we can condense on, then we could do that. But try to put as much as possible that relates to it.
Quick question for you. When it comes to resumes, so is there a rule of thumb about how long a resume should be? Because my resume is like 2.25 page, but I've also been working for 6 years, and like I said, 16 jobs. So is there a rule of thumb about how long a resume should be? Say one for. Let's say one is a new college graduate, one is someone who's, been working in the field for a minute, and then let's say one is somebody who's trying to go into the education field, because they got to use that one that start with a V. I can't pronounce it.
CV, curriculum vitae.
There you go. Curriculum van.
Yeah, curriculum vitae. Yeah, CV. Mm-hmm.
So what's your rule of thumb?
Yeah, so personally for me, my rule of thumb, so if you're a recent college graduate, I would say a page. If you've been in the field, like you said, you've worked a lot, you have a lot of experience, and you need that 2 pages, go for it. I wouldn't go over 2, because at that point, like you said, so say it's like a professor. I don't know if you've ever Googled a professor's CV. They post it on their site. They post it like on the actual employment site for the university. CVs can be as long as possible. So if they got 20 pages, they can do that, because they put their publications, they put all their experiences, what students they're helping with their coursework, classes taught, all that stuff. So it just, again, depends on your experience level. But if you're kind of new in the game, I would say a page, just as that rule of thumb. Okay.
Yeah. Now I know Ari said, and she's a professional, she does this professionally. This is just Jerry from down the street at this point. But I know she said include flush out some of your stuff. But if if you applying, and I'm asking you too, if you applying to say, be a marketing coordinator, and you did some stuff in school, you fresh out of college, you did some stuff in school, do you still want to put that you worked at Hattie's Pies on that resume?
What was the role at Hattie's Pies?
I was sweeping.
So again, it depends. Like, say, okay, so it's a marketing position, and you said a recent college graduate.
Yeah, but I did some stuff on campus. Like, I was involved in the SGA. I did radio. I got some on campus experience, but not that much.
Okay, got you. So what I would say to that, since you have other experience and it relates to like that marketing type of field, then you would want to have maybe like a relevant or a marketing experience section on your resume, or just relevant experience section, and have that at the top and highlight those experiences. Make sure it's thorough, all your descriptions. But if you want to show like, hey, I have held a job since my freshman year, then you can put that towards the bottom, like employment history, and have like, hey, I worked at as a server here. I worked as I'm gonna say Crispers, server at Crispers as well, just to show like, hey, I've worked in that role. I have answered to a superior, things of that sort.
For sure.
What I will say to help people like remember of how to construct your resume, pretend you have that piece of paper and you fold it in half. That employer is going to look at that first half of that resume. You want to make sure that if it's folded in half, you have your important stuff at the top. So you don't want to put something important at the bottom, because especially if they're going through a lot of resumes, they're not going to read all the way to the end. They're going to do a quick glance, probably 15 to 30 seconds. So make sure that you have all that relevant experience, all your credentials, certifications, skill sets at that top.
Gotcha. Damn, I ain't never think about folding in half and look at mine. I know at the top of mine I have name and all that stuff, but then I go right into I forgot what I named it, but it's like skills, and I'm just gonna say skills and abilities. So it's like, Hootsuite certified and all my certifications and all that good stuff. Then I go right into that first job. Boom, here I go in your face. Here I go. That's my first job. Hit you. Here I go. So and so then cover letter, right? So is the cover letter an introduction of yourself, or is it an introduction and delving deeper into those things that you can't say on the resume?
Yeah. So with the cover letter, you can follow kind of like a common formula for this. So what I see sometimes, you can do it this way. You can go into, my name. Say my name, for example, like my name's already Emmanuel Wright. I went here, got this degree and things of that sort. I worked here, and list all that out, but that's already on your resume. So you want to construct it in the way that it stands out, and you're highlighting certain like experiences or situations that relate to that actual job. So probably in that introduction, like you're showing like this, you're kind of stating, this is the position. This in summary, like a quick summary of like what you would introduce in that middle paragraph of like your experiences at X company, and I had this experience with this client or with this student, and this relates to whatever you're doing or whatever job that you want. And at the end, you're kind of just tying it all together. The saying, like, if you have any more questions, you can reach me at this email and this phone number. But I think the main thing with the cover letter, like the main theme, is that you want to show your personality. You want to show your writing abilities. So checking for those grammatical errors, kind of like the resume, showing that you can clearly state what you want to say in a short amount of time. For sure. Because you're not going to write a 5-page essay on your life story. Like you said, it's going to be 1 page at the most. And you want to make sure it's compact, but also meaningful for them to get an understanding of you. And that one more step to show like, hey, we can bring them in for an interview.
Now on my cover letter, should I be like, my name is Jerry, I'm a Leo rising?
Maybe you can say that in the interview, and they're like, maybe you could throw it in a little bit.
Leo rising.
Those vibes. Now, if they serious, don't say
that. My moons are in Gatorade right now.
No, don't say that.
So before I let you go, what are 3 tips maybe that you will give to someone who's, because the name of this show is called Hope This Helps, and I'm hoping that people can watch this and then pull away some good information, some good tips, and we help it, even if it's just one person, we help somebody. So what are 3 tips that you give to someone who say they're on the job hunt right now? Maybe they have a job, but they're looking for something else. Maybe they're a recent college graduate who like, dog, ain't nobody hiring. So what are your 3 tips that you would give to someone?
Okay, let me think.
I just put you on the spot with that one.
I know. I have my first 2, but I'm like, what's the third one? Okay, I'm gonna just go, and then maybe my third one will go. So first, I would say be patient. Mm-hmm. You got to understand that your timeline may look different than others, and I know that can be so hard, especially when you're in the moment and you're looking around and everybody got their jobs, and you look on social media and they're like, I'm proud to announce that I'm a new this or a new that. It's hard, you compare yourself. But understand that your time is coming. It'll be okay. Be patient. The second thing, be intentional about what you're applying for. So understand what your purpose is, what your career aspirations are, like where you want to go. Don't just put out 1,000 applications, because that's hard to keep up with, right?
Because I did that myself before.
Yeah, and I get it. That sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But if you have like a certain, like what you want, you just don't want to apply for something and it's not even close to what your goals are or what you intend to have in terms of professional development. Because you most likely won't stay there that long, especially if you haven't done your research. You're kind of just doing it to do it, right? So be intentional about what you're applying for. Keep track of where you did. For me personally, I made like an Excel sheet, and I have like the employer name, when I applied, when is the application deadline, the phone number, contact information, so you can keep track, and so that color coded, whatever you got to do, so that you can be organized.
So you saying if an Indeed link say quick apply, just don't go down that list, click apply, because I got a call back like, Jerry, we got your application. Do you still want to be a pastor? I was like, huh?
I know you're gonna, and then you're gonna get there looking stupid. So
I applied for this when I applied for this.
Exactly, and those things can happen. You would hate to have that phone call and they're like, hey, remember, and you just caught off guard,
right.
So of course, if you do those quick apply type of jobs, just make sure you write it down so you know what it is. Even if it was like way out of your league, just keep track.
Yeah.
And I will say that's a good third one. That remember that you are qualified. Even when you feel like you're not, apply, because at the end of the day, the worst they can do is either throw the application out or say no after the interview. Like, take that opportunity, especially if you feel like it's out of your league, like you feel like you're not worth that type of salary. Hey, go for it, because you don't want to pass that up and be in that situation like, dang, what if I would have did that?
Right. Right.
So be clear.
Listen, I appreciate you for coming on here and chopping it up with me. Now, where can everybody find you? What services do you offer, and how can they get in contact with you? I asked the first two questions the same, different ways, but the same question.
Yeah, so it's real simple. You can go on Instagram and type in Ari Career, ARI, and career, like it sounds, or you can reach me by email at aricareer@yahoo.com. I do resumes, cover letters, personal statement reviews or revisions. I've done a college essay revision before.
Oh, wow.
I've even helped someone construct an email on how to contact an employer. So things of that sort. Anything related to your career, I got you. I have the experience in it. Multiple years in the game, critiqued and revised over thousands of documents. So it's something that I'm very passionate about, because my goal is to not only get you that position that you want or to help you professionally develop, but to make that difference and understand that you are a quality person. Like, you got this. Right. Like you are more than you may think from the beginning. So I really care about the actual individual rather than, I'm just doing this service to do it. It's something that, I went to school for. I do this full time at a university. So again, you can reach me at Ari Career on Instagram. And I also started a TikTok where sometimes I post like motivational things and also things related to like resume tips or interview tips as well.
You better drop that TikTok.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Listen, I appreciate you coming on and chopping it up with me. And I'm certain that, you know, someone's going to pull something from this. So y'all make sure that y'all go and follow her on all of her social media platforms and reach out, because this is a service that she can do. You ain't got to be in the city. You ain't got to be in her hometown. You ain't got to be in person. You can jump on a Zoom. You can send an email. So reach out and get that job that you want, or get that internship, or get that, you know, that promotion, or that, you know, go negotiate that salary. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you for coming on here and chopping it up with me. I hope this helps.